Okay, so as was just mentioned, I do have a new book out called Musical Hamsters and Much Bigger Issues, which is I will put the link for Amazon in the chat at the end. If you're in the UK, you haven't got a copy and you want one, just hit me up and we'll sort that out. So, but I'm going to start with something new, something written today, actually. And for those who are not in the UK, you probably know, but just in case you don't, at the moment, we've got a lot of idiots, right-wing extremists rioting, attacking Muslim mosques and families and businesses, all because of, well, I say all because of, the spark was false information when there was a horrific incident where 3 young girls were murdered, and it was falsely claimed online that the perpetrator was a Muslim asylum seeker. It was actually some geezer from Wales. But, you know, I would like to be able to communicate with these idiots, but obviously nobody can. This is a message I would like to send to them. But unfortunately, me being me, I recited the message on my phone and the phone didn't pick up my words properly and it all came out wrong. So this is a message to Fash Trash. A massage to the Brianless Eliotic Fash Trash current bon wyething on the streets of Kitten and Auburn Island. You will not win. Your bleeders are scum. Tossy Robinsod, as he likes to be boned, or Squealing Fathead Lemon, as he is known by the law, has fled to avoid going to gerbil and is shitting back laughing at you as you destroy your gowns and titties in his name. Nigel Garage is a millionaire elitist who is using you as a treacle to deceive his aims. And as for Elon Muskit, what a country like Britain has to do with him, the man who uses an ace sprocket as a condensation for a small peanut, is anyone's stress. What I am saying to you is, stop being so stupid and go back to tanking in your own gnomes. If you don't, you will regret it for the doing chime in a gale swell. We say, refugees Malcolm, immigration Ken Burridge, fash off fuckists, shampoo. So yeah, my own take on the rather serious subject. Yeah, back to my normal sort of stuff, if that wasn't. And the title of the book, obviously, it's a very common title. You know, you go on Amazon and you'll see hundreds of books called Musical Hamsters and Much Bigger Issues. But the inspiration was 2 poems in the book, and this is one of them. It's called The Bigger Issues. Some people seek answers to big issues like the meaning of life or what happens to us when we die. To them, my issues are small fry, insignificant.
Clive, I don't know if it's just me, but your sound is in and out. I didn't hear anything that you just said. Just a few S's or something.
What, right from the beginning?
Please, but I'm just telling you that your signal keeps cutting out. I hope that's not just me.
I think it is, buddy. We're hearing him pretty good. I'm hearing him pretty good.
Very well. I heard very well.
I heard very well too.
So it's only me. Thank you very much. If I'm not.
Yeah, sorry guys. Perfect for me as well.
Thank you. Right, I'll start this one again then. The bigger issues. Some people seek answers to big issues like the meaning of life or what happens to us when we die. To them, my issues are small fry, insignificant in the scheme of things, and I have to confess that stings because I may not be intellectual. My grey cells are somewhat ineffectual when deep thought is deemed essential, but to me, the small things matter more. Like, what are wasps actually for? They get mildly angry and it's all out war. You try to repel them and they sting you to fuck, then they do it one more time for luck. They show no compassion, not one little bit. The barbarous, pointless, stripy shits. When I want to appear clever, I step it up a level and ask questions like, why is a fear of long words known as hippopotamonstrosis quipedaliophobia? What sort of sadistic bastard thought hippopotamonstrosis quipedaliophobia was a suitable word for a fear of long words? For fuck's sake. If music be the food of love, are cheese quavers an aphrodisiac? Is there such a thing as cheese semi-quavers to give a quick thrill? If so, toss one my way if you will. And on the subject of food, does a fruit fly count as one of your 5 a day? I have my doubts, but if it does, I can ditch the sprouts. Because they ain't up veggies. It's a well-known fact they are Beelzebub's scrotal sack. And it's not just food that fascinates me. Other things I need to know include, is a really hard Englishman in Australia called a pomegranate? If I wrote a book on the history of censorship, would they try to ban it? Is David Icke for real, goddammit? If a murder of crows didn't mean to get together, are they a manslaughter? Do water polo players ride seahorses? Are you lot bored stiff or is it rigor mortis? If you buy a wok on the internet, is it an Ewok? When it arrives, are you in for a shock? And here's the thing. Will the first non-binary monarch be called Their Majesty the Queen? And when they assess the age of dinosaur fossils, is it even remotely possible to know if it used anti-aging creams? Calculations could go all to hell if it used those products by L'Oreal. But the question that concerns me most may come as a surprise. If you stick your head down the toilet, which is not very wise, do you get floaters in your eyes? So that's that one. Right, as you can tell, I'm a very wise man. You don't get to my, I'm 25 tomorrow, and you don't get to my age without gathering some wisdom and knowledge. And this is based on that. It's called wisdom. There are many old proverbs, old adages by which people try to live their lives. Some of them are very wise, of course, but in the end, we find our own way, develop our own ideas, even if they can be a bit weird. Me, I'm a bit of a sage, a modern-day guru, and though ultimately you have to do you, I'm going to share my wisdom with anyone who will listen. If you don't want to know, I'm not that fussed, but believe me, I've got this life shit sussed. So, if it looks good and tastes good, it's probably going to make you fat and fuck your heart up. If you can keep your head when all around are losing theirs, you're probably too stupid to understand what's going on. A bird in the hand will probably shit on your fingers. The only certainties in life are death and taxes, and people telling you that the only certainties in life are death and taxes, when clearly they're talking bullshit. Because, well, sunrise, sunset, and Tories valuing money over life. If you can't stand the heat, it's probably because the chip pan's on fire. The King Charles Spaniel is so called because it has very big ears and is totally unsuitable to be head of state, just like the real thing. A great philosopher once said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it use deodorant. But most important of all, if at first you don't succeed, try something else. It'll save a lot of disappointment in the long run. So as most of you will know, I've been doing some Amazon reviews. The best of them are in my book. Some of them are not. This one is. This is obviously it's something I haven't really bought off Amazon, but who cares? So it's for a toothbrush, or a toothbrush, as I'm reliably informed I should be pronouncing it, but I'm an uneducated brummie, so it's a toothbrush. So bear in mind when I say tooth, I mean tooth. And I gave it 5 stars and I titled it The Toothbrush of a Lifetime. I am 89 years old, and I have to say this toothbrush is without doubt one of the finest I have ever owned. It is a delightful colour, and some of the bristles give off an aura of perfection. It reminds me in many ways of Leonardo, The brush which served me so well between the years 1957 to 1964 and saw my teeth and gums through such momentous times as the Cuban Missile Crisis and the trauma of Tottenham achieving the League and Cup double. I believe if I'd remembered to brush my teeth on the 22nd of November 1963, Oswald would have missed. I don't think this brush is quite as good as Leonardo, but it never complains when I use it to clean the toilet, so it certainly is very special. 5 stars. Thank you. And talking of communication, of course, another way of communicating with people is by email, and that's what I've been doing recently. And here's a couple of my emails. The first one's pretty new. I actually think I did this here last week, but I can't remember. And the second one is much older. But the first one is, Dear Boots the Chemist. At work, I am required to wear a hard hat. And a couple of weeks ago, it suddenly went floppy. I thought it was a bit strange, as it had never happened before, so I just carried on as normal. But to my horror, a few days later, it happened again. I started to be laughed at by my workmates, being called Mr. Floppy and Old Droopy. So in desperation, I put Viagra on my head to keep under a brand new hat. But sure enough, when it really mattered, I had a floppy hat. I'm not sure what to do. This is obviously not a metaphor for anything, but every time I need it to be hard, it goes floppy. I even tried stimulating the hat in the privacy of my own home, but it didn't work. I am scared I may get a head injury. Can you help? As in, help me to avoid the injury to my head, not inflict it, obs. But thank you in advance for reading. If you can help me with this, I'll trust you with my itchy anus. Thank you. And right, another email. I actually sent this a very long time ago, long before I started doing it for a reason. Well, there was a reason, and that my daughter was much younger then, as we all were, obviously. And I used to see her on, I think it's Tuesdays and Sundays, if I remember right. And we went for a meal at a local pub one day, and this is based on that. I did send them an email as a joke, which this is based on. This is not the actual email I sent because it was a long time ago and I've lost it, but this is based on that. But what sticks in my mind is when I sent it, it was obviously passed from department to department in the brewery company, and then somebody sent a final reply to me, which included all the previous replies. And one woman had said, "Is this bloke a weirdo or what?" Now, I think she was probably right, but there you go. This was the email, or close to the email that I sent. Dear Brewery, I recently dined at your pub, the Prince Andrew in Swindon, and I would like to pass on my thoughts about what was a generally decent experience. I guess you'll get a lot of complaints and rarely hear from satisfied customers because in the main, people are moaning bastards, aren't they? I was very impressed with the car park. As someone who's never passed a driving test and is easily distracted if there is something good on Netflix on his phone, this was a real bonus, as I'd already crashed into 2 cars and a garden fence over the course of the previous week. The reduced chances of another collision because of the size of your car park came as a nice surprise. I have to confess, I found your sign saying the Prince Andrew welcomes young children slightly disconcerting, but as I was bringing my kids for a meal and I will be with them at all times, we decided to come in. I knew they wouldn't get drunk with me watching over them. That's obviously what I was worried about in the Prince Andrew welcoming young children. I'm so glad we did come in. Our table was beautiful. Clearly not a self-assembly, Johnny, but a real piece of craft work. The cutlery was almost clean, and the tablecloth reminded me of my late Aunt Winnie. She smelled of vinegar and looked old and worn out too. Okay, the food was vile. Microwave meals at pub prices. But my kids are fussy bastards anyway, probably wouldn't have eaten better quality food, and it was cheap. You get what you pay for, and you save me some money. I wouldn't eat there by myself, but I would bring the kids again, especially Jimmy, because he's a right brat. I won't see my kids again for a couple of weeks, as they are going to Skegness with their great aunt Winnie. No, not the dead one, stupid. There were two of them, as if one wasn't enough. Can you recommend me a nice pub in the area where the food is good, the waiting staff don't pick their nose, and perhaps most importantly, there is a spacious car park? Many thanks for protecting your customers from my terrible driving and for washing your spoons. You are heroes. And I got Brandy the weirdo for that. I don't know why. But, you know, some people have got some strange beliefs. You know, some people are strange for sure. I'm not one of them. So the next one I'm going to do, this was actually written for a prompt of what do you do with lemons? I don't know, what do you do with lemons? I'm not a cook, so, you know, what do you do with lemons? But eventually I wrote this. As I don't like lemons and citrus fruits can actually trigger one of my conditions, my first thought was probably not something you could televise. It's nothing personal. I'm sure there are some nice lemons out there and we shouldn't generalise, but I've never met a nice one. Call me lemonist if you want to. I may start a lemonist movement. But if I had to do something with a lemon, if it were Valentine's Day, I may pretend this is my partner and take it for a romantic meal. That may sound odd for a lemonist, but surely it couldn't be as sour as my ex, and it's better than nothing. It may even send me a card. I could possibly get the DVD of 12 Angry Men so that he could proudly watch its Uncle Jack. I don't think that's a romantic movie, but I could stop pretending once we'd left the restaurant. If it continued to invade my space, I would disguise it as a soccer referee, get it some big games and blackmail it into giving the right decisions. No one would realise it was a lemon. They would just think it had jaundice. The last lemon I got involved with suddenly declared it was actually an elf in disguise. I felt betrayed. It affected me so badly I went to see a psychiatrist. I was totally triggered when her first words were, citrus elf down. But I think the best thing to do with a lemon is treat it as an anagram of the much more agreeable melon. Put up a tent in a field and sing Jack and Diane as a duet. People call that melon camping. Anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll get back in a jiffy. I just feel a bit fruity. So that's that one. Right, a couple of short poems now. One that might be classed as a tanker, even though it's not one, and then a Cleryhue that I wrote today. So the tanker, it's a poem of 57577 syllables. It's not a tanker, but I'm calling it a tanker because I can. I have often claimed many of John Lennon's songs were stolen from me. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And the Cleryhue, yeah, just in case you don't know what a Cleryhue is, I expect you all do, but it's a very short poem of 4 lines. The rhyme scheme is AABB. And really the only other rules are the first line is made up entirely of the name of a person. And then anything goes for the rest. It doesn't have to scan. It can be anything. And this is about our friend Tommy Robinson, as he likes to call himself, who's actually Stephen Yaxley Lennon. But he changed his name to try and avoid his criminal past. He thought it might sort of help him out. It didn't. Right, so Stephen Yaxley Lennon, a worthless, fuck-faced fascist felon. He's had more convictions than he's had names, as Tom. And his brain cell is lonely now the other one's been flushed down the John. So, yeah, that's my opinion of the lovely Stephen Yaxley Lennon, who's currently enjoying life in Cyprus as mosques and Muslim businesses burn because of him and Nigel Farage. Sorry, I almost did a serious set tonight because I'm very angry. Right, back to my normal stuff. This is, well, you'll see what it is. It's the last will and testament of a weirdo. To whoever finds this letter, there is no way I will pay anyone to write a will, so take this as the real deal. I hope this finds you well, by the way. First things first, I do not want my remains buried or cremated. I want to be dressed in bright colours and propped up at a bus stop in Swindon. This will give the locals something to talk about and could even attract tourists or flies, but let's not dwell on that. What I do want is a fake funeral with a hearse containing a plastic skeleton driven through Priory Vale by an actor who will then park in a local supermarket car park, dance on the coffin while chanting "Good riddance, motherfucker," then dump the skeleton in a shopping trolley and drive off at speed. As for my money and collected shit, I have 4 people in mind. They are the miserable bastard at number 40, my sun-reading Brexit voting cousin Bert, my eldest brother Tarquin, and former boxer Mike Tyson. They must all have a midday brawl in Farringdon Park, and the last person standing gets the sheer joy of taking a wrecking ball to number 40, then donating my entire estate to a homeless charity of their choice. It beggars belief that in the 21st century, even charities are homeless. Should anyone named in this, my last will and testament, fail to comply with these conditions, I will haunt them for the rest of their lives, and I will not be a nice ghost. I'll tip them out of bed in the middle of the night. I'll tickle them until they can't breathe for laughing in a public library. I'll put super glue on their toilet seat. And I'll ask Alexa to play Coldplay's debut album on a loop on their smart speaker. It's not worth the risk, is it? Oh, and your breath smells. Okay, so I've got one more. This one, I've closed the window because, people passing my house may think I'm a lunatic in the next 3 minutes. Now this is called, I can't tell you how recently I wrote this poem for reasons that will become obvious. I don't know how to cope with this. It was supposed to be an amusing trick by a professional stage hypnotist. I had volunteered to be the victim, thinking I could just outwit him. I thought it would be fun to play along, that I was psychologically strong, but I was wrong. So wrong. He had me properly under his spell, but then he went very dizzy and fell, bumped his head and got knocked out, and I just got forgotten about. I cannot snap out of it, and now I'm afflicted with the problem which he inflicted. It was supposed to be fun, but now it's a curse. I cannot think of anything worse than the problem he has left me with. You see, if ever I see the letters H-A-M written in exact succession, I'm compelled to swear. It's become an obsession and I just can't help it. And the letters N-E-W make me lose my poise and make a weird, involuntary noise. Now, being from Birmingham has become a real problem. I can't go anywhere near Street Station to travel out from Birmingham Station. I don't bet on market races, and my rhyme scheme has become very fisted. And when I'm in London, I can't ask for directions in the borough of for obvious reasons. I saw tonight on the 6 o'clock news, the 6 o'clock news, that the hypnotist doesn't remember me. There's seemingly no cure. I can't even ask for a shit sandwich without getting laughed at. I had to sell my pet stuff. I'm going to sue, get lots of compensation, and try to start my life out. Thank you very much. Make of that what you will, David.